I can say with absolute certainty that this has been one of the best upgrades I have made to my filming arsenal, and that this camera has exceeded all of my expectations and completely blown them out of the water. It's made me like shooting with a single lens camera again. I'm going to be honest, after I predominantly started filming with the 360 camera, I didn't think I would ever run a single lens camera again as one of my main cameras. Don't get me wrong, I still had the Insta360 Go 2 and the Go 3, which I now use, which I did use for certain activities, especially in the summer, but as a whole, the X2 and the X3 very quickly became my main cameras that I ran because they just make filming so enjoyable. Because shooting with the 360 camera, you never miss a shot, there's so many upsides, and the only downside really is that you do sacrifice a little bit of the quality. But that's why this year I did decide I wanted to bring some of that super high quality 4K shooting back into my videos. So I'm going to be completely honest here. I had actually ordered the GoPro Hero 12, and I debated about the Hero 12 and the Osmo Action 4 for about a month. I finally ordered it. It came. And then the very next day it arrived, the Ace Pro was announced. So after another week of debating and watching reviews and videos, I mean, I've researched these two cameras more than any cameras I've ever looked at in my life. I decided to send the Hero 12 back because I knew I'd just been so happy with my Insta360 products, and based off the reviews, the Ace Pro just seemed like it was going to outperform it in every scenario. So I sent the GoPro back, ordered the Ace Pro, and I haven't looked back since. The Ace Pro has been the most enjoyable 4K single lens camera that I have ever shot with, and I purchased it mainly just to get the occasional like super high quality shot, maybe get some slow-mo, some B-roll shots, but I would say it very quickly became a much more like a 60% 360 camera shooting and 40% of me running the Ace Pro because it is just so fun and enjoyable to shoot with, and the image quality you get out of this thing is phenomenal in my opinion. I think it looks so good. So for all my snowboard trips that I took this season, I definitely, I did whole days where I felt like I shot with the Ace Pro more than my X3 because I just really love the way that these images looked. Regardless of the light condition, I think with the bigger image sensor on this camera, it just does really well when you're dipping in and out of the trees, going into all these very light scenarios. The image always turns out looking super crisp. I'm going to be totally honest, I don't like to color grade footage because simply I just normally am so pressed for time, I don't have time to sit there and do all the color grading. I love the look of color graded shots, but I just don't have that kind of time in my schedule to be able to do it. So I love this camera because I'm able to tweak the settings and make the image look so well within the camera that I don't have to do anything in post. So all these shots that you're seeing here are basically completely raw. Everything I just exported straight off the camera. I don't color grade any of my footage. The only thing I do add in is a motion blur effect, and then sometimes I'll throw up one of the Insta360 filters on top of it. But like in the HDR setting on this camera, I don't typically do that at all because I think it just looks so good. So other than the motion blur, this is like the raw footage that you're seeing from this camera. No editing required, which I absolutely love. The Ace Pro is packed with so many features and tech that I haven't even really scratched the surface of what this camera is capable of. And that's really my plan for this summer, is to experiment with it a lot, learn more about the features, and be able to master this camera so that when next snowboard season rolls around, I can really come out swinging with this thing. But I do just want to highlight some of the standout features and the things that I do love about this camera. First up is the battery life. The battery life on this camera, and all the Insta360 cameras for that matter, just seem to outperform any other action camera batteries on the market. Even when I was snowboarding with this thing in temperatures as low as like -20 and -30, I was still running it. Now mind you, I was turning it off and on. I was still getting multiple hours of footage before that battery died. Then the really great thing about the Ace Pro is it has fast charging. So you can get an 80% charge on this battery in I think it's like 15 minutes, and then to get a full charge, it's an additional 20. But that being said, this works out perfect. We would snowboard all day, go back to our room real quick, and take a snack break. During that snack break, I could plug up that one single battery and have it almost back to a full charge by the time we went back out again. And so this entire snowboard season, I ran this camera with just one battery. And if you were going to use it as your main camera, and especially for cold action sports, you might want to pick up a second battery. But typically with this, if you have a way to charge that one battery midday, you're going to be able to get through the whole day with one battery, no problem. It blew me away. The fast charging is awesome, and I love it. The next thing I want to talk about is wind noise. I did notice real quickly when editing footage that this camera does better, I think, just out of the box than, like, say, the X3 with dealing with wind noise on its own. And you can also throw on these little, wind muff protectors and stick them on over top of it, and I think it just does a really good job compared to other cameras that I've used. Even when I was snowboarding in really high winds or going really fast, I thought it did a really good job of just eliminating that wind noise stock in camera. Plus, like I said, if you got additional motion going, like you're mountain biking or snowboarding, you can stick these little wind covers on, and it does really, really well. Next up, what we have to talk about is the touchscreen. Being able to have a flip-up touchscreen on this camera is huge. Not to mention, it's just awesome. The screen on it is so big and so vibrant. You can preview your shots really easily without having to sync your phone up. It works really well. It's really responsive. The display looks good, and being able to flip up and see yourself filming with the screen up, it's just always really useful. Typically on action cameras, I don't use the touchscreen a lot. They're kind of there. I like being able to preview the shot, but I never really use it for anything else. On this one, I found myself using it quite a bit. Next up on the Ace Pro, something that I think it blows every action camera ever out of the water is just its low light performance. It has a really big image sensor on it, which already is going to help it in lower light scenarios, or like say when you're mountain biking or doing things where the light's changing and you do enter some of those lower light scenes. I think it does really, really great, and it still makes your shot look excellent. However, what's different about the Ace Pro is it also has a mode called Pure Shot mode, and this mode is optimized to shoot in low light scenarios. I've even taken this thing out. It was literally like nighttime. It was dark and I went one reeling around some Christmas lights and stuff, and this thing puts up really phenomenal shots. And even there was a couple times that I took shots in our condos of like an early morning scene, literally no lights on, it was super dark, and still some of these images came out really, really great. It's definitely a setting I see myself using more in the summer versus in the winter. I'd planned to do some night riding, it just never happened, but definitely plan to do more videos with this in the summertime and take it into some more extreme conditions and see what it can really do. One of the biggest advantages of the Ace Pro over other 4K single lens action cameras is the quick release mounting system. I think if you're not using a quick release mounting system in 2024, you're just missing out, and you're really kind of crippling yourself, because it makes filming so much simpler. If you get a couple of these quick release mounts, you can mount the camera to multiple things. You can move it in a flash versus having to sit there, undo a thumb screw, take it off, put it in, align a thumb screw, screw it back up. Like on the chairlift, I can change this from my helmet to a selfie stick just like in seconds. And it's so easy to use, literally even with it on my head where I can't see it, it still snaps in, and you don't have to worry about the stability of it. It's not going to fall off. So what quick release is it actually has magnets that basically help align it. Once you align it, it snaps in, and these little metal hooks come up and hold this camera onto the mount. So it's not actually magnets holding the camera. They just help get it aligned, and then it's going to snap in. Then to release it, you have to suppress both the buttons on the side and pop the camera off. These things are crazy sturdy. I've seen videos where people are literally swinging kettlebells from the camera, pulling on that mount, and it doesn't come off. So there's no amount of force you're going to put on this thing that's going to pull it off. So to not use a quick release mounting system, you're just giving yourself more work, and you could be saving yourself a whole lot of time, making your life so much easier. Because like myself, I like to switch my camera angles up between runs or over certain times. You don't want to have the same shot for an entire day. So it's really nice to be able to just quickly pop it off, change it in a flash, and I promise you, once you use a quick release, you're not going to want to go to any other system. Overall, like I mentioned before, the image quality I think that you get out of this camera is absolutely beautiful. I mean, every time I look at these shots, I'm impressed. No matter the light scenario, no matter how bad the visibility was, even on these super whiteout like snow days when you would think it would be almost blown out, because like even looking through my goggles and looking out in person, it looks crazy white, and this camera is able to like separate all that and create these absolutely beautiful images. I have not been disappointed by the quality of any of the shots out of this camera that I've used over the whole snowboard season. Every time I film with it, it just makes me want to run it more because I love the way this image looks. Like I said, I set it up stock. If you want to know my settings, comment down below. I might make a whole video on my settings that I ran with this camera for the winter. So if you are interested, comment down below and I'll make that happen. But as a whole, I love the image quality of this camera in every scenario that I've taken it to. Another really great accessory that I picked up near the end of the season, and it's definitely something in the future I'll be running way more, is the GPS preview remote. Now, the great thing about the preview remote, obviously, is that you can preview the shot on your wrist, kind of like an Apple Watch, before you actually, like without having to sync your phone up, without having to pull it out, connect it, all that. It's going to stay connected while you're filming. It also allows you to change your filming modes. It basically gives you complete control of the camera from your wrist. That way you can go on and make sure you line the shot up perfectly. and you're not going to mess it up. You're not going to have to sit there and tweak it. It's easy to make adjustments on the fly with this thing. But also the biggest perk is that it does throw in that GPS data so that you're allowed to put the GPS data on your video, overlay it with your shot. You can see how fast you're going, the incline, the altitude, all sorts of this data is applied to your shot, and you can tweak the way you want it. Insta360 has a lot of different preset layouts. It's really cool. I love it, and it's definitely something like going into mountain bike season. I think I'm going to run it nonstop, and definitely next snowboard season, now that I know how to use it, it's something that I'm going to incorporate way more. Definitely, if you're getting this camera for an action sport, pick up the GPS preview remote because it's awesome. It's really, really cool. So there you have it, my Ace Pro review. I've been running it for many months now. I plan to continue running it. And who knows, it might even creep into being one of my more dominant cameras that I use. It already is just, I love this thing. If you have any questions about the Ace Pro or any of the Insta360 cameras, definitely hit me up down in the comments below. I love these cameras. I love talking about them. So any excuse I have to reply to a comment, I'm always pumped. I do have the Ace Pro link down in the description below. If you do use my link, you're going to get some bonus accessories as well as it's going to help support the channel. So definitely check it out if you are looking at picking one up. I'd really appreciate it if you could help me out, but it's also going to help you out by giving you some different bonus accessories. Thank you guys so much for watching this. I hope you got some value out of this. Hope you're still getting out there shredding or mountain biking, whatever it is that you're loving it, getting great conditions and enjoying life. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you in the next one soon.